matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Boom. We are back. Hopefully the wildfires are out, and it is a lovely, sunny, who knows what day. Hopefully Wednesday, maybe a Thursday. How are you, Taylor?
Good. Yeah, hopefully like something good happened between now and Wednesday.
It won't. You're being absolutely naive.
Cool.
So, on that note, would you like to introduce us?
Yes, I am. Welcome everyone to Doomed to Fail. I am Taylor, joined by Fars. We bring you history's most notorious failures, disasters, interesting stories twice a week. And I just thought for a second, actually, you know what might happen between now and then is I think I'm really going to ban TikTok because our videos are doing really well on TikTok.
I would not be upset if they banned TikTok, despite that fact, Taylor, because I'm on the
Why?
camp of like, why are we giving our data to like a Chinese company?
I mean, they already have it. So no way they can't hack our
I
grid.
know, but you don't have to keep whatever.
But then there's like all this stuff happening that's like so interesting. So like I am I was on TikTok because I've been like trying to repost all of our episodes. It's gonna take me my whole life because we have so many episodes, which is awesome, you know. And but I'm trying to go through all of them. I'm only on number 10, but I'm doing like a little TikTok for all of them. And we're gaining a lot of followers. Followers are like doubled. Well, it's not a ton, but we have a bunch of them. But then when I go to my explore, I guess because I'm, you know, an older woman, um, all of the things like I'm not really following anybody, but all of the things, it's like all these live videos of people selling things, and it's like people doing like home shopping network from their house, and it's like you would like join my live thing, and I'd be like, "Oh, hi, Fars. Fars just joined, and Beth just joined, and whatever this person just joined," and then you like order jewelry, and the person's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. Okay, I'm gonna give you jewelry number three." And they pull out this thing, and they put it in like a pot of water, and it fizzes, and they open it up, and they're like, "Oh, look at this beautiful necklace. You're so lucky," and then they mail it to you. Isn't that weird?
Is this in the U.S.?
Yes. But there's like, I've seen dozens, so there's probably thousands of women who's that's their job. They're
I
like in
think,
MLM.
yeah, I think I've officially aged out of social media.
It's just so fascinating. I'm like, I can't.
It's brilliant. I think that like your kids, what their world is going to look like in terms of social media and like what they can do, how they can make money in side hustles and whatever else. I think it's going to look so different than our world, in like in a great way.
I mean, it's gonna look so different.
I think you don't I
Florida will
think you
be
disagree
there.
on the great way part.
Not in a great way, no.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, things are getting worse every single day.
Like what?
Like climate change gets worse every day. And Elon Musk does something weird more every day. And there's no like light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a tunnel of
Yeah, and then
despair.
AI is going to be a thing. Quantum computing is going to be a thing. You
Yeah,
would,
and then it's
I
going to
mean,
use all of the water that we've ever possibly had, and then we're all going to die.
our parents would never have fathomed like, wait, you have jobs where you don't have to leave home and you can go like grocery shopping in the middle of the day, or you know what I mean? Like it's just like our
Yeah,
standard
totally.
of living is dramatically better than their standard of living was, I think.
But like not for everyone. Like we're very privileged.
Well, you can't account for everyone. There's always going to be like ends to the bell curve. We're also not billionaires, so what are we? Should we
I
kill
know, but we're
ourselves?
also
Like,
fine.
yeah.
Um,
Have we even introduced the show yet?
I did. I definitely did. But then I was
Did
talking
you?
about
Okay.
TikTok, remember? And then you were like, social media, it's a thing. And then I'm in a pit of despair, and I'm just like, is your topic funny?
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Hey, so it's not funny, but it's insightful, it's thoughtful, and it's different than what we usually do. So
Great.
hopefully you'll like it because I sense that you are on the precipice of a spiral.
I mean, I literally, like I said, I think I said it, I don't know, 5 minutes ago or an hour ago. I have nuclear war dreams every single night. You know, I'm not doing okay. But
Okay.
yeah, keep going.
I'm gonna get your mind off it for like
Thank you. That's what I'm
briefly.
hoping for.
Okay. So I went to dinner last night with Rachel and I went to a ramen place. Taylor, Okay, so this is for you as my friend who, if you ever come to visit, we have to figure this out. But it also is for anybody who is in either mostly in Austin, but if you're like in the areas, the surrounding areas, there's two ramen places that you have to check out in Austin. One is Ramen Del Barrio, which is phenomenal. It's inside of a grocery store, and that's not what the story's about. But I'm just like bringing it up as an aside. It is.
Okay.
Imagine if like Mexican food was like made like ramen, and that's what it is.
Hmm.
It's just like this. God, it's so. I can't even describe how amazing it is. The other is where I went to yesterday, which is Mamafuko Ramen, and that was amazing as well. And that's where Rachel made a joke that was something about, well, why don't you just spill some ramen on yourself, and then you can sue the restaurant for millions. And I was like, hey, I got to fact check you. I'm going to throw some facts in your face. I know a lot about this topic because I knew
Hmm.
exactly what she was referring to when she said that. And I assume that, Taylor, you might know what she's talking about too.
Oh my God, that poor woman with the McDonald's coffee.
Yes, the poor woman with the McDonald's coffee.
For
So
real.
I am going to go into what I think our collective memory got wrong about that whole situation because a lot of people misremember that whole case and that whole story. So I'm going
Hmm.
to go into it. So, generally speaking, I think that the collective memory we have is that, well, she did it to herself. She's crazy greedy and she asked for and got an insane sum of money. And these days, anyone can sue you for anything. Culture is what we have now. That's
Yeah.
what I generally think the collective wisdom was. And I think late night television, like I think Jay Leno was to blame for most of this, but
Oh God.
I like Jay
Yes.
Leno, but like this,
We should blame him for this for sure.
we should blame him for this.
I'm not sure if it was on a show, but it probably was.
It almost certainly was. So that's what I want to get into is like get into what actually happened, what we remembered, and what we're misremembering about the events, and what the outcomes of those events actually were. So this story takes place. It starts in well, the story doesn't take place here. The story really just starts in 1971 because 1971 is the year McDonald's decided that you know what, we're going to crush the competition of local diners by introducing a breakfast menu. So that's the first time breakfast came to McDonald's with the world infamous Egg McMuffin and
Love
all
it.
the rest.
I get it without the Canadian bacon because Canadian bacon's weird.
I
I just
like
like
Canadian bacon. It's
I
supposed to
don't
be
like
really
it.
healthy,
It
but I
is
don't know
it?
if it is. I think
Isn't
it's
it like
supposed to be just pure
ham?
protein and no fat.
Mm.
But then again, you don't know because like when we were kids, they were like, fat's bad for you. Now fat's good for you. And
I
you know,
know
like
now as like influencers, as like have you seen some people eat like a stick of butter and like a steak for breakfast?
so we know someone that does that. I'm not gonna say his name
What on
right now,
earth?
but we know someone who does that. Anyways, we're gonna move on. So so in these days, you know, like now it's funny. I make this joke to Rachel anytime we go for coffee in Austin because every coffee shop in Austin is the exact same. It's like someone wearing shirts that are probably 50 years old and cost $1,000 and have some obscure band. The person behind the counter is 27, has like tiny little tattoos, the ones that you kind of have. Like it's just all the exact same vibe. Like the vibe of every coffee shop in Austin is the exact same. They're all very hoity-toity, you know, type of a vibe. That is not what the vibe was back in the day. Back in the day, coffee was just like a thing you picked up at McDonald's or 7-Eleven. It was hot as shit.
Hmm.
Nobody cared about flavor. There weren't four different types of beans with individual social security numbers that you could choose from. Like they were all just beans. You just got a bean and just got them things roasted. So
You're totally right. That's so funny.
up till the events of this story, McDonald's kept its coffee at around 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. For context of how hot that is, that's the internal temperature of like a very well baked, freshly baked bread, or the temperature that you would serve pork at. Like a sauna, for example, is about 150 degrees. It can go up to like 150, 170, but like that's the upper limits.
Hmm.
Starbucks, by comparison, today serves their coffee between 150 and 170, which coincidentally is also a temperature where third degree burns also tend to happen depending on exposure length, where it happens, all that stuff. Were you going to say something just now?
Um, this is stupid, but like when I first had a baby, you buy a stroller, right? And the strollers have like cup holders on the front. And one of them, like, they say like not for hot liquids, and I was like, I'm not an idiot. And then the first thing I did was put a cup of coffee in it and like push a stroller 2 feet, and there was coffee everywhere. I
Yeah.
was like, I am an idiot, and that is exactly why this warning was on here.
But
Great.
we live in modern times with tiny single line tattoo baristas. So that coffee could have been an iced coffee, Taylor.
It's true. That was when I switched to the iced coffee and followed the rules of the stroller.
Very well done. I
Mhm.
still only order iced coffee. If I'm at home, I have hot coffee because I don't want to make iced coffee. But if I ever go out, I'm ordering iced coffee.
Really, I like doing like a latte or something.
Lattes are nice. Lattes are nice. I just feel like I'm not going to get like an Americano.
Mhm. I got a bunch of Americanos in Puerto Rico because I don't know, I feel like everything was so sweet or fried. I was like, give me something not. So they give me a piece of broccoli and an Americano, so I'm not like dying.
Like hands you like a nice fried pork hock next to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so the logic McDonald's used to justify why their coffee was so hot was there's three reasons. One, they said their customers wanted that hot because the hotter the coffee is, the longer it stays hot. So if you buy a coffee in the drive-through, then when you get to your office and sit down at your desk, the coffee's still hot. So they did it for customer reasons. The second reason is they said that a hotter cup of coffee is fresher. It stays fresher longer and it preserves flavor longer.
It can't be true. I feel like after a while, I feel like it's burned.
We're going to get into this.
Okay, great.
They're not doing it for good reasons. Let's just put it that
Right,
way.
right, right. Okay, I was like, I don't believe them, but keep going.
So my personal favorite was that they brewed coffee in huge, huge batches. Like this was not this again. This was not a era when coffee was artistry. They were just making tons of coffee and making tons of coffee over and over again. It just reduced the profits. So you make one batch of coffee, you keep it scalding hot, and the person
You can
getting
use it
that
all day.
coffee thinks that their coffee's fresh because it's scalding
Yeah,
hot.
yeah.
Who else would keep old coffee scalding hot? So, with that said out of the way, let's get to our main protagonist, which is a woman named Stella May Liebeck, a 79-year-old grandmother in 1992 from Norwich, England, and she was living with her daughter Judy Allen and her grandson Chris Liebeck in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time. So we're in 1992, February 27th. Stella and her grandson Chris go through the drive-through of their local McDonald's, which, by the way, I street viewed it. It's still there. And
Wow, that's interesting.
yeah, they go to this McDonald's and she ordered a cup of coffee. They get the coffee and Chris parks to give her some times to open the lid and put cream and sugar inside of it. She does this by placing the cup between her legs so she can peel the lid off of it. And in the process, she was peeling the lid like towards herself. So she's grabbing the lid the furthest side of the lid
Yeah,
and like peeled it. And so in the middle of doing this, she spilled the entire cup of coffee in her lap.
yeah. And
Nope,
who among us has not done this?
I've not done this.
You've not done this? I feel like if you get a cup of hot coffee and like you want to put some stuff in it, you put it between your legs.
So I drink my coffee black unless I'm at home.
I do too, but I feel like I drink it black all the time, but I feel like I would like my husband wants a Splenda in his, so we have to open it. So I put it like between my knees, open it if I'm sitting in the car, and he like handed it to me.
He just wants it black with a Splenda.
No, no, no. He has a latte with two Splendas. It's his thing,
Oh,
but like
I was gonna
no,
say
but like no, but
monstering into a monster.
no, that's gross. Um, but no, but how else would I do it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You know?
how else would you do it? That would be the
Yeah,
expectation.
yeah.
So Stella's reaction was super, super intense, and some would argue over the top. Her grandson actually thought she was overreacting until she literally went into shock and passed out in the car. He
How old
then
is their grandson
raced,
again?
huh?
How old is the grandson again?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, 79. He was probably like in his like late 20s, early 30s, I would
Okay.
assume. He would race her to the ER once this happened, once he saw the outcome of this. And it was discovered that she had third-degree burns up her legs and in her like crotch region. I mean, she poured the coffee in like the worst spot that you'd want to pour the
Yeah.
coffee. This would require ongoing skin grafts and full-time care, going on for like months after her discharge from the hospital. So, well, the skin grafts lasting months after yeah, the skin grafts would last for months after the discharge. But in total, she spent 8 days in the hospital, then 2 years of ongoing treatments, and then at the end of this, she still ended up permanently disfigured and somewhat disabled, like living in constant pain.
Oh my God.
So Stella's daughter, who would take on the duty of being her caregiver, she was not like salaried, so she was missing out on pay by taking care of her mom. And there was ongoing medical expenses, obviously, that Stella had to incur and her family had to incur. Ultimately, Stella would reach out to McDonald's and ask for about $20,000 to cover her actual medical bills, expected medical bills, and her daughter's loss of income. That's what she wanted. She wanted $20,000. That's it. McDonald's countered with $800.
I hate
So
them.
this pissed her off enough so that she retained a lawyer to sue McDonald's. And the main legal issues at trial were: was McDonald's negligent in serving coffee at such a high temperature, knowing that it posed a risk to customers? Did their failure to act on prior burn complaints constitute willful negligence? Was the severity of Stella Liebeck's injuries reasonably foreseeable? And lastly, to what extent was Stella responsible herself for the spill and the injuries?
Hmm.
So, on the first point, the coffee temperature, despite what they argued at trial, their own, through discovery, it was discovered that their own internal survey and polls uncovered that people didn't wait to drink their coffee when they got to the office. They would start drinking their coffee in the car, like any sane human being.
Oh my God.
It's such a it's such a deliberate attempt to be like, yeah, I have no idea how this works. So the whole they have to serve it this hot, so it's the right temperature when you get to your desk. Argument just falls apart immediately on its face. Also, it was discovered that coffee served elsewhere was between the 150 and 170 range, which it currently is at a place like Starbucks, for example. That's what they currently
Hmm.
do, and that's what they did back then as well. And if you were to spill at the higher end of that
Wait, I'm so
spectrum,
sorry.
yeah,
What is boiling?
boiling is 100 132.
It was almost boiling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So at 170 degrees, it would take 20 seconds. Sorry. At 170 degrees, like if you were to serve the coffee at a reasonable temperature that's considered reasonable today, it would take 20 seconds longer to for you to incur and develop third-degree burns if you were to spill that coffee on yourself than you would at the 190-degree temperature. What's actually worse here is that she was also wearing thick cotton like pants or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so when the coffee spilled, she couldn't peel it away from her skin. It just like soaked into the cotton and just pressed itself against her body.
Oh God.
And then there's a question of prior complaints. So in the years prior to Stella's lawsuit, McDonald's had received over 700 complaints about its coffee and settled over $500,000 against those complaints. So they knew without a shadow of a doubt their coffee was injuring people. So as to Stella's culpability, she's obviously somewhat responsible for this since she is the one who did it. In all, the jury decided that McDonald's was 80% at fault and Stella was 20% at fault. Um, in total, she was awarded $200,000 in compensatory damages. That means like they're just trying to compensate you. They're trying to make you whole for money that you're out of pocket or will be out of pocket.
Hmm.
So she got $200,000 worth of those, but that was reduced 20% because of her own culpability. So she received $160,000 of that. Then there's the part that, again, the late night comics had a field day with. They added the punitive damages to the award of $2.7 million dollars. So the part I think people overlook is the point of a punitive damage is to punish the wrongful entity for their actions in such a way that they would correct their actions and not repeat them.
Hmm.
Let me ask this. How many days worth of coffee sale do you think the punitive damages were for McDonald's?
Oh my God, like nothing.
2 days.
Ugh.
So the $2.7 million award that everybody made fun of and was like, we're spinning out of control as a country. That's 2 days of coffee sales for McDonald's.
Yeah.
So
In 1992.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like way more now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other part that gets overlooked is she didn't collect that. So the judge ended up reducing the damages reducing the punitive damages to $480,000. So she still got the 160 plus the 480. And then Stella's attorneys appealed, and that's when them and McDonald settled out of court for some that we actually don't even know what it totally is. Ultimately, several things would come out of this. McDonald's absolutely shockingly did not reduce the temperature of their coffee. What they did was they printed more prominent labels of warning on the cups. Because again, like I go back to like this was a profit center. They had machines they had probably had built. You know, like what are you gonna do? Like remove those, and now you gotta hire someone full time to. They're not gonna do that. It wasn't
Yeah, they
until
don't care.
20. Yeah, they don't care. It wasn't until 2013 when they started going through their whole McCafe conversion into like we're
Oh
gonna compete with
yeah.
Starbucks. That's when they started investing in brewing, and that's when they got rid of the industrial machines that would keep the damn thing at 190 degrees.
'Cause again, like it's gonna taste like burning, right?
I,
I think it's like
I
good coffee.
so I was way too young to be into coffee back then, but I
Yeah.
never had it. But I can only assume it was horrible, horrible coffee. I think the
Yeah.
reason Starbucks exists today is because the most accessible coffee people had access to was McDonald's, and
Yeah.
nobody liked it. So Starbucks shows up and they look like superheroes.
And then they charge 3 times as much money, but part of that is to pay for that person to make you an individual cup of coffee and not scoop it out of a boiling cauldron.
Yeah, so you can look at a guy with a handlebar mustache and a beanie wearing a flannel shirt. Like that's where you pay for. That's where you're there for.
Exactly.
Stella would die 10 years after her court case at 91 years old. She, according to her daughter, basically just died in agony. Her settlement for McDonald's paid for the live-in nurse she needed for 24-hour support until her death. And last but not least, this had an impact on automakers. Can you guess why?
Cup holders?
You are brilliant. So Stella's grandson was driving a
I literally
19
just thought, oh, I should have put the coffee in the cup holder when I take the top off.
Yeah, yeah. You know
Like it
what's
didn't
fun?
occur to me. Like my whole rant about how I like very much would have put it between my legs. Like I didn't even think about I should have put it in the cup
So,
holder.
so none of these changes to automakers would have made an impact in your case. Um,
Now
so
that now that I've thought it through, but keep going.
when you first said the thing about the baby carriage, I was like, oh wow, she's kind of stepped on my story here. Um, so Stella's grandson, the car he was driving when they went to that drive-through was a 1989 Ford Probe. And the 1980s and early 1990s, cup holders were like a luxury car thing. A Ford Probe would not have cup holders. Stella,
Hmm.
yeah, like Stella Liebeck's case has been cited as a leading influence for automakers to standardize cup holders in cars. And the Ford Probe, actually, the first time it ever got a cup holder was right after this burn injury situation in 1993. So,
Interesting.
so several things here. When I started this conversation at the ramen restaurant, the first thing I did was like, hey, if you think that that lady's injuries were like such a joke, Google it. Google Stella Liebeck injuries, and it looks like radiation. Like it looks
Hmm.
horrible. Like anybody who wants to Google it, it is not a pretty sight. She got super super messed up. So everybody was like, "Well, it was frivolous. It was BS." Like take a look at those pictures. Like you will totally disagree with that sentiment that it was frivolous. But
I'm looking
yeah,
at them now.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah.
I
You would not
definitely
expect
had
that, right?
I knew that they were that wow.
She got messed up bad.
Wow.
So this thing people look at as being the birth of the frivolous lawsuit.
Yeah.
Um, and basically during a time period where corporations were getting sued left and right that the public didn't like. I think the underlying reason why the public didn't like it was because they thought that dumb people or incompetent people were getting stupid rich off of being stupid, and corporations having to make payouts like this made them poorer because they would have to front the bill and higher costs essentially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as with anything, there's two arguments that could be had here.
Right.
On the one
Is that true?
hand, this practice by McDonald's should have been stopped after like the third complaint about someone burning the shit out of themselves with a hot coffee. Like
Yeah.
that's insane. Her injuries to herself are absolutely unbelievable. Um, did you hear that?
No.
Okay, good. On the other hand, some of the damages were actually kind of obscene. Generally speaking, what happens in these situations when lawyers are trying to file these crazy lawsuits is they look at a case that is just so beyond the pale that it has absolutely no merit being awarded the judgment it gets awarded.
Hmm.
Stella's wasn't that case because nobody looked at her
No.
situation was like, you could, we all think it was the case, but it wasn't. The actual case was a case called Gore v. BMW. It was this doctor named Dr. Ira Gore who bought a 5 Series BMW for $40,000 in 1990. And then later on, when he was getting the car detailed, he found out the car had been repainted before he bought it. So he was sold a brand new car, but it had been repainted. And then through discovery and through lawsuits, because this doctor had more time than anyone on earth, it was discovered that BMW had a policy that if a new car is damaged, but the damage costs less than 3% to repair than the value of the car, they would fix it and not tell the new buyer that it was damaged. So in that case, the courts awarded Ira $4,000 for the lost value of the car, but $4 million for punitive damages. And
Whoa.
then that's what they actually filed up to the Supreme Court saying, hey, frivolous lawsuits are getting out of hand. We got to get a grip on this thing. And that was the case where they started putting multipliers on punitive damages can't be more than certain X more than the compensatory damages.
Hmm.
And so, but like that was kind of like the answer to frivolous lawsuits that really Stella Liebeck's case spawned, which again, I don't think she did. I think she was horribly, horribly injured, and I think that the damages she was awarded and the grand scheme of how much that would have cost McDonald's and days of coffee sales, like who cares? Like yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think she was in the wrong.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
So
not. She was horribly injured.
yeah, yeah,
Like it is, honestly. Don't, maybe don't Google it.
it's pretty bad.
Honestly, it's pretty bad.
So
God.
so that is my story. Um, hopefully it took your mind off of things briefly.
It did. It did a little bit. Yeah.
Feeling better?
A little bit. A lot going on.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So anytime somebody makes a joke about spilling something and getting millions of bucks, you show them that picture.
Yeah, for real. Ugh. Ew. God, poor thing. That's awful.
So, sweet. That's my story for the day. Do we have anything we want to report out to the audience?
No, nothing has changed really. I'm gonna do some more TikToks before I'm not allowed to anymore. And yeah, I think that's it. Let us know if you have any questions or thoughts. We're at doomedtofailapod@gmail.com and doomedtofailapod on all of the social medias.
Please write to us. We like hearing from
Please
you.
do. We'd love to hear from you.
Sweet. We'll go ahead and cut things off then, Taylor.
Cool. Thanks.